They couldn't get that all-important second goal as it finishes then 1 apiece. Let's welcome Gab Marcotti into the show, shall we, Gab? Juve took a lot of time to get going, didn't they? And in the end, they could only get that point.
Yeah, look, I mean, we saw the expected goals there. We saw that they hit the crossbar twice. They had the Morata goal disallowed. But I think what this shows you is that, Pirlo could just stand there with a hard hat and a big men at work sign, because that's the reality of Juve right now. They're still learning what he wants of them. And look, in normal circumstances, if they had, all the players that they're missing from Matthijs de Ligt to Cristiano Ronaldo to Bonucci, of course, came off injured, then maybe you'd have moments of individual brilliance to tide you through as you continue this learning process. They don't have that right now. On top of that, I thought they were a tiny bit unlucky tonight, and Verona played really, really well. Let's give Verona credit as well. There's another team out there, a team that finished in the top 10 last season that's trying to stop you from scoring as well. So I'm not going to view this as disastrous, as no doubt some of my colleagues in the Italian media will tomorrow.
Well, the problem is, Gab, that once again I'm going to ask you, I'll say, well, what happened if Sarri got this result last season? And you'll go, it's completely different because Pirlo's come in, he's written a thesis, he's changing everything, so you've got to give him time. But this is Juventus, and this is Juventus in a moment where it's 3 consecutive draws. They've only won 1 game so far this season outright. It's not good enough.
Well, I mean, they also won in the Champions League, let's not forget. I think the big difference between this and Sarri, look, if Sarri had come in last season and said, oh, look, I'm going to play my version of football, I'm going to play Sarri ball, and y'all are going to be patient while we go and we learn how to do this, then fine. I could have dealt with it, especially if you had to play without Cristiano Ronaldo and 3 or 4 key players. But that's not what's happening here. He's playing without key players, and he's not playing badly. He's simply not gotten the result. So I don't think it's time to freak out and throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think what's very obvious, though, is that these pieces aren't fitting together, and it's a learning process for him as it is for the rest of the team. But by the way, can you give me some credit for telling you how he was going to put on Kulusevski and he was going to change the game or come close to changing the game?
Well, I will give you credit, but also on the same hand, I'll say, why on earth did he not start when he's clearly been one of the key players for Juve so far this season and made such an instant impact in this game?
That's a good question. I think a lot of people would have had Kulusevski starting.
Yeah, but it's Pirlo. You can't question Pirlo, Gab. It's fine. He knows everything. The thesis said it's all right to leave Kulusevski on the bench.
Well, look, Ramsey is more of a traditional in-the-hole player, traditional midfielder. So, textbook would have said Ramsey is actually the more logical, conservative option there. But look, Dybala just came back. He played 10 minutes in the last 3 months, and now he's back. I think he'll contribute. I don't think, until we get a sense of what Pirlo's trying to do and how he's trying to do it, until he has the tools to do it, I don't think it's time to judge. These last 2 games, Crotone and Verona, they could have easily have been wins. And then all of a sudden, Pirlo would be a genius. I think the reality is somewhere in between. We don't have all the tools to judge him.
He's not going to be a genius if you beat Crotone and Verona. Ali, where do you stand on this?
Well, I told you last weekend that the expectation for Juventus should be better than to settle for a draw against Crotone, and it should be much higher than settling for a draw at home against Hellas Verona. And I think the most concerning part about it, if you're Juventus and Pirlo, and whoever else is evaluating Pirlo, even though this is a plan and there's a thesis and there's a lot of knowledge from Pirlo and a lot of equity, you have to evaluate what you see out on the field. And what we saw from Juventus today is a team that up until they got scored on, the intensity and the urgency wasn't nearly what it needed to be. Yeah, it's unfortunate if they hit the post. Well, that's part of the game. And that's part of playing for 90 minutes. And that's part of creating opportunities and putting your chances away. And they did not whenever they had those chances. But you didn't really see Juventus park themselves in the attacking half up until Verona actually scored a goal. So where was that prior to Verona scoring? Where was that passing and movement? Where was the individual ability that you have from players in Juventus that are far superior to the Verona players? As good as Verona was today, this is still Juventus, and this is still Juventus playing at home. And so whether it's Pirlo, whether it's Sarri, whether whoever it is that's sitting on that bench, historically speaking, Juventus should be beating Verona. And certainly, when you come into this game, then you should see out on the field the evidence of how Juventus is superior to Verona. And you didn't see that up until Verona scored a goal. That right there, I think, is something to be concerned about.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.